Hi there, welcome to this session on CVs. They're not the most exciting thing in the world to talk about, I appreciate, but the CV is very important in terms of solidifying exactly what kind of skills and experiences you have to employers. So you will have previously looked at a CV as being something to show your education. Now it is about highlighting your skills and experiences. So this session is really looking at elevating your CV beyond what it's previously been and starting to look at it as a professional document. So, as this slide is confirming, it is about your goals, aptitude, and attitude. It is showcasing the skills that you have that align with an organization that you are applying to. So, you're looking at making sure that you are identifiable to an organization that you are applying for. And this starts to feed into your brand. So, showcasing exactly what makes you the creative that you are, because the employer needs to know this, they need to understand this, and they need to find out about this very quickly. So your CV should only be a page long. You should be able to put the best of your experiences within that document. And you want to be giving examples of the kind of work that you have done within university, any work that you've done with a social media channel that you have, whether that be an Instagram feed or something within a blog. Have you had an award nomination? Have you even won that award? Highlight those things. Those are important things to know, particularly if you're an employer. So the session that we'll be doing today, we'll be having a task involved within this that's going to be demonstrating how you talk about the work that you have done. So I'd like you to be able to pick a piece of work and explain within 20 seconds the type of things that you explain, the type of skills that you used within that work that you were doing, and how is that going to assist a company that you are applying to. So really looking at not only the organization that you are working with, but also identifying the organizations that you want to work for. Now, everybody likes to run away from CVs sometimes because it's quite intimidating to try and put down all of these skills into one piece of paper. So it's really important that you're able to have a look at yourself as a complete professional overview and identify what your brand is, and have a look at the experiences and the achievements that you've had, and getting this onto the piece of paper, because unless you put them down there, the employer is not going to know who you are, and you'll get passed up for the opportunity. And an employer tends to look at a CV for between about 6 to 10 seconds. So you really want to get the information in a very clear and coherent way so that they understand exactly who you are. And that can be done through, a decent font, having a good layout, making sure that anything that is particularly important is demonstrated nice and clearly at the top of the page. You want to be having your skills and your experiences at the top, and you want to be moving your education down to the bottom of the page. Yes, it's good to have, but you don't want that to be the focal point. You now want your experiences and skills to be the thing that the employer really finds out about you very quickly. So just bear that in mind when it comes to how you frame your CV. Magic phrases, things like team working, hard worker, I'm motivated. They're all great things to say, but you need to be able to put them into a context which is related to a particular experience that you've had. So if you are going to write a profile about yourself, trying to avoid I'm hardworking and I'm a team player. And actually, the example that I've given for Dior is looking at how you worked within an organization and you were responsible for certain things and you did particular pieces of work, and what the achievement was as the result of that. So in the 3 bullet points that you give, you can sort of outline the skills that you utilized or the skills that you learned as well, what you were doing within that role, so that incorporating things regarding teamwork and how you were working independently, and all of the things that you learn out of that. And then ultimately, put that last bullet point is saying what was achieved within that organization. What did you personally achieve that meant the company benefited from you working with them? If you go saying something like, I'm hardworking and I'm a team player, it's most likely that the employer is going to fall asleep. So another task that I'd like us to do is to review some examples of CVs that you can see in front of you, and it gives you an idea of the kind of things that people are putting on their CVs, and to see what a professional one looks like. So you're going to have a few minutes to review these CVs, and we'll discuss afterwards the sort of things that you've identified and the sort of things that you might want to incorporate into your own CV. Do also bear in mind that have a look at these from the perspective of, pretend that you're an employer and you're highlighting the sorts of things that you would want to see for a particular opportunity that you have. And it's really important to be able to think like that, because then you can start to identify the kind of things that, okay, if the employer is expecting this to be on a CV, I should really think about what kind of experiences I have that are relatable to that, so that I can then include that on my document. It's about aligning yourself with these organizations and making sure that the companies that you're applying to them knowing that they desire the particular skills that feature on your CV. There's no point in sending a CV to somebody if you've got a completely different skill set to what they're looking for. So this task will help you to sort of evaluate and have a look a little bit more about exactly what you should be putting on your own CV. This leads into who is your CV for. So this is an example within the fashion industry of particular categories of departments or particular industries that you may well find a fashion student wanting to look into. So within your own course, think about some of the gateways and the pathways that you could take, and list them and see which one fits closely, not only with what your interests are, but also where your skill set lies, so that you're able to dissect your own career effectively and work out where your industry of choice is going to end up being. Now, this slide is looking at your career path and thinking about, rather than, where are you going to be in 5 years' time, think about that ultimate job and think about exactly how you're going to get to that point. So if you imagine you're going to be the head of a particular organization, or you're going to be the director of your own company, work those stages backwards and think, okay, well, I need to have worked within a very large company before that. I need to have built up my own business contacts. I need to have therefore been a senior designer somewhere. I will need to have done that for a few years. I'll need to be a designer, and work yourself all the way back to the point of being an intern, and really looking at that career path then and seeing how it fits with your plan, how it fits with your skills, and how do you go about navigating that? Because then it might give yourself an idea of the sorts of skills that you need to start building up in order to attain some of these responsibilities later on in your life. And it means when you go to an employer and you're asked that kind of lazy question of where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, it gives a sense that you've really thought about your career and exactly where you anticipate on going. So these are examples of CVs that have been done in the past. Somebody sent their shoe, now saying, I've got my foot in the door, can I have an interview, and things like that. Or somebody's baked a cake. These sorts of novelty things are, slight gimmicks, but really you want your CV to do the talking. So you want that one-page document to really represent the best of you and not be reliant on some gimmick. And 9 times out of 10 they go wrong, and the employer doesn't take the joke or whatever, so it doesn't really leave that good an impression. So really do consider whether or not that is something that you would want to do. We would advise against it. These examples of CVs are, one's done it in a sort of restaurant menu layout, so that's quite an interesting take on how you go about representing that information. The other person they've put in an awful lot of pie charts and graphs about how good they are at particular things, and we would advise against that on the basis that you don't want to be telling an employer that you're bad at something. You might be very good at Photoshop and After Effects and things like that, but then if you say 2 out of 10 for teamwork, you're not going to be representing yourself very well. So we would recommend just listing those skills, or putting the logos for the types of software that you use. And if you speak a language, you can create a logo for that. Or if you have another skill that doesn't have a logo, then you can create your own. So this Venn diagram is in place to be able to represent exactly what's going to feature on your CV, and to really identify the 3 key components of the skills, the experiences, and how they relate to your interests. And this is important to be able to lay out exactly what sort of information you want to be providing to the employers and being able to represent this in a very coherent and clear way. And the interest sides of things is going to be looking at the particular organizations that have influenced you and see how relatable they are to the company that you're applying to. Your work experience and previous projects are also going to be massively important in influencing the way in which an employer understands what your creative thinking is like and whether it's similar to what they work on and the work that they do. And your skills is then emphasizing you've got that technical knowledge, that you know the computer programs which they're going to be familiar with, and that any languages that you speak as well are going to be additions really to the work that you have produced. And all of this will encompass one page that is a fact sheet about who you are. Your LinkedIn account is going to be important to lay out these experiences as well, but it's also going to be very influential in you being able to make network connections. So when you are looking to put your LinkedIn account onto your CV, you might want to change the URL just to make it your name so that it's a bit more familiar and it will look better on your CV, and it will highlight that you've put time and attention into making sure that you are a professional brand. So really, the key points are to understand that your CV is outlining the responsibilities that you've had, the work experiences that you have done, the achievements that you have had, and also, to a certain extent, leave them wanting more. So each of the experiences that you've popped down there, you've got those 3 bullet points in place. You've identified a little bit about who you are because of a 3 or 4 line profile that you've given of yourself. And your skills are there to highlight exactly what you are capable of. So that should really be it. You're wanting the employer to then be encouraged to go and look at your portfolio and to perhaps go and look at your professional Instagram account or your website to be able to understand more about you and ultimately provide you with an interview. So this is the end of the tutorial, and we'll crack on with the tasks in hand once we break out.